The fact of the matter is you only have to go to the dentist once when you're a kid and you have baby teeth, and once when you're an adult and you have big teeth.
There's no way that's correct.
It is. Right, Mark?
100%.
That's not, you're gonna have to retract it tomorrow.
That's a study that came out of the UK yesterday.
You're telling me right now that the only time you have to go to the dentist is once when you're a child and you have baby teeth, and once when you're an adult and you have an adult teeth?
According this guy.
Who? Tell me who, Mark.
That's according to, now this is coming from
Don't name a random person. Who is it?
Anders.
I'm almost sure we're gonna have to retract that tomorrow, right, Mark?
Definitely not.
How many times have you been to the dentist? How many times have you been to the dentist?
Well, that's anecdotal evidence, so it
So
doesn't
just
matter.
give me a number.
I haven't.
He's never been.
I have hard teeth.
TBTL.
Can we listen to TBTL?
No. Yeah.
You want to listen to TBTL?
Yeah.
Rated by independent research, the most popular West Coast program in the history of radio.
Hey, you know, if we knock down that wall, it would really open the place up. You know, clean up the blood, maybe add some French doors, maybe a ping pong table right there. You know, I'm just riffing.
Be careful, though.
It's spicy.
This is the craziest f***ing interview I've ever done in my life.
That's why they call me multidimensional.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone, to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Yeah, everyone's got a podcast.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
As Jay would say, you got flow.
Coming to you from Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, and the adventure begins again.
Perched high above the mighty Mississippi River. That's right. Looking right out on it right now, and Davenport, Iowa. A great visual backdrop to bring you episode 4,484 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
You know, here in TBTL land, we've been really getting into billboard talk, and there's actually billboards in the news.
I've got lots of news.
Specifically, that billboard on Interstate 5, back in Washington State, where I'm usually broadcasting from, that had a Uncle Sam on it and just had, over the years, many kind of wackadoo conservative messages. Well, that piece of land the billboard is on went up for sale, and the folks that bought it, there's a certain, you could say, irony there.
How funny is that?
That's pretty funny.
It's not us, by the way. We do have this other thing going where we're putting a billboard up somewhere in America, and people are trying to guess where that is. This is not related to that, just to be clear. But we'll tell you what's going on with the Uncle Sam sign. And then we're also going to say howdy doody to this guy, the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. On this side of the Mississippi, the side that I'm on, he's also known as
Mr. Unlimited.
He is Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. Good morning. I'm in pain today.
Physical pain.
I'm in physical pain. I'm coming
no.
in hurt. And I had an idea this morning, a very briefly held idea that could have impacted the show. And I wonder, it's related to my injury, and I'm wondering what you're thinking of it, because I have a theory.
Were you hit by a foul ball at the Fish Sticks game?
I was not, although you're reminding me of something else I should admit on the show. Before we get to my injury, I do want to get to my injury because it's going to impact the show one way or the other. But I had a great time at the Fish Sticks game.
I see you have a cool-looking hat. Is that related?
Oh, no, this is from
like
the
it has
old...
some kind of a fish on it.
This is from the old Pacific Inn, the tavern that has
course.
fish and stuff. That's just a coincidence. Okay. I like this
I
this
like
hat.
that hat, by the way.
Thanks. But I did go to the Fish Sticks game with Genevieve and some buds over the weekend, and we spent most of our time in this little beer garden-y area. So to be honest with you, it was a lot of, don't ask me about, like, who did what in the game. I know that the Fish Sticks dominated. I think the final score was something like 11-2 over the Washington Athletics. It might have even been a starker score than that. It might have been 12-1 or something. But it was a really good time, but this little beer garden area is right along third base line. It's kind of like outfield, okay? So like kind of right, I guess left field is what I'm trying to say here, right? So there is a risk of getting bonked in the head by a foul ball, and a few foul balls do go out over this way. The first one that came out over our way, everybody kind of gets nervous. You hear it pop off the bat. Everybody looks up, and if you weren't already watching the play, it's really hard just to find where the ball is in the sky. Like, you know that, right?
Yeah, there's a reason why the pitchers point straight up.
That's
when
the
there's
move.
a pop fly.
And that was my move. I thought I had eyes on it, so I pointed up like a pitcher, Luke. I felt really cool for a second. But then I immediately didn't feel cool because it went literally out over our heads, over the concession stand, and landed in the parking lot. And I heard, Luke, the sound of shattering glass followed by a car alarm, a honking beep.
That's
beep,
like
beep.
out of a like an Allstate commercial or something.
Luke, I turned to Hauser, one of my friends I'm there with. My face is
J-Dog?
J-Dog. I don't know how you come up with these names.
It's a gift.
I'm just like, my mouth is agape. I am looking at him wide-eyed like, are we experiencing this? And he's just he's not saying anything. He's just like looking at me and taking it all in as I start to think, that's not what glass would sound like if this ball really hit a windshield.
You got.
So whenever the balls go out over this way, they play a little recording of shattering.
A good bit.
It is a great bit, and it totally got me, Luke. I went from being cool Logan Gilbert pointing straight up in the sky like I'm tracking this ball to, did you guys hear that? I mean, what are the chances? First foul ball of the night, and it smashes right through a plane of glass. Wait a second, car glass doesn't shatter like that, and why would it? Why would it sound like a bunch of pieces of glass falling on pavement? It would have all gone into the car, right? Like, it just took me just like a beat too late to realize that I got.
It would be funny if they also played it just for any foul ball, just one that was just foul tipped just past the catcher and just bounces back to the backstop. Every foul ball, even though you can see the ball the whole time, they're just playing the shattering of glass in the car alarm.
It was fun though. It was a great time. Also, it was it's nice. I never get to South Seattle very often, or Southwest Seattle, so it was just, that neighborhood is really cool.
Did your using mass transit kind of plan work out? You kind of meandered down there and had an okay time?
You know what? This is a rarity, and I don't like to speak ill of my beloved E-Line, but something was mucked up on Saturday afternoon. First of all, my plan was to leave the house like really early so Vives and I could like take the E-Line, get off downtown, have some.
I never thought I would see you and E-Line having a falling out.
We're okay. We're okay. Like, it's
why did you say he was on the Epstein list? There's some parallels there. You never thought Trump and Elon would have a falling out. We never thought Andrew and Elon would have a falling out.
I don't know if I like this comparison, and I don't know that I want to.
I retract it.
I don't know that I want to continue down this line of questioning.
Good point.
But the E-Line, Luke. So the E-Line was supposed to pick us up right by our house, zip us down to downtown, pick up the H, and we're going to maybe meander. Well, I got off to a later start than I intended, so we didn't have as much free time, but we still had like maybe an extra half hour built in. We're like, well, maybe we'll just not spend time downtown, just go straight to White Center. The E-Line usually comes on an average Saturday afternoon. If you're waiting more than 5 minutes, it's notable, but very, definitely on the 10s, right? Or every 10 minutes, I should say. Certainly, you never wait more than 10 minutes for the E-Line, unless it's like some extreme hour of night. We are waiting there, and we are waiting. It's a beautiful, beautiful day on Saturday, almost too hot. And the bus is just not coming. We're using all of our apps to like track it like one bus away, and like something is messed up. We see that there's a bunch of them, but they're way, way up in Shoreline, and they're not moving, and there's one that's barreling down the highway. Now, I don't know what you know about the E-Line, but the E-Line is not supposed to be barreling down the highway.
So you can see it moving in real time, and you can see that this one is not stopping and picking people up. It's just...
I think
does it show you an icon of Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock on it?
It really does.
It's not allowed to go below 50
on this app called One Bus Away, which is not like it. I can't believe that it hasn't been purchased by like the city or the county or the Division of Public Transportation or whatever, because it's so helpful. But it's just publicly funded or I guess crowdfunded sort of. I tossed in a couple of bucks the other day. I thought it was a funny joke. I donated. I'd never done this this before. I use one bus away all the time. It tells you specifically when your bus is coming, when possible, using GPS as opposed to just like when the scheduled stops are. And that's how we were able to go in and sort of track some of these buses. I thought it was funny. I gave him like $25 the other day, and then I thought immediately of sending a note in to complain and say, I just donated, yet I still had to wait too long for a bus. Please give me my money back. I come up with these jokes, Luke. I don't know what to do with them. But anyway.
This is a fine place.
This is a fine place to let them
die. This is the Yucca Mountain of that kind of. I don't know what the half-life of that joke is, but it'll just be in the ground of TBTL for years to come.
This is like my litter box where I can like just dump those jokes and then use my back feet to like kind of kick sand
Remind me to
over
tell
them.
you about the 3,000-pound litter box that I have just constructed at my house accidentally for all of the feral cats.
Okay, I'm going on too long. First of all, public transportation should have worked fine, except something was going on with the E-line. I think we saw this thing. Oh, God, there's a spider going down my wall right now. Focus, Walsh. It's huge. It's the size of my fist. I think we saw some of those buses on the 5 because they were like barreling down to like kind of repopulate. I think there was something mucking up the works on Aurora or 99 up north.
I see.
And so I think they were like literally trying to repopulate sort of the bus line. I don't know what was going on.
They're
We waited.
parachuting articulated buses into that part
would
of
be
Aurora.
amazing too.
Like Operation Geronimo.
I can picture it. Yes,
putting those beavers into the backwoods of Idaho.
But anyway, so we did have to wait forever. So we had no time to sort of like just gallivant around. But we did get there right on time, and it was a beautiful day. And Pride was going on down at White Center, so it was like a very festive environment. Anyway, a lot of vendors and stuff. It was just a really, really fun time. Thank you for asking. Now, my injury has nothing to do with that. My injury is one of those things where it's like that. I keep on thinking about that line from Seinfeld where he says it was a 1 in a million shot, Doc. A 1 in a million shot. I think he sits on a noodle and it goes up his keister. Anyway, I don't
even remember this episode of Seinfeld.
It's a very famous one. I'm going to use a word here. It's the Ass Man episode. It's very iconic because I think is it like Jerry's dad? Somebody sits who's Stiller? Who does Stiller play?
Jerry Stiller is George's dad, right?
I think he sits on an uncooked piece of fusilli and it goes right up his keister, and so
really
he has to go to a proctologist, and then there's a side plot of like who has this license plate that says Ass Man, and then at the end we realize that's probably the proctologist's license plate. Anyway,
Gotcha.
1 in a million shot, Doc. 1 in a million shot. We just go through life. Like, you ever get a paper cut and you're just like, what? How did everything have to align perfectly for me to get this paper cut, right? Something very similar yesterday. I'm getting ready for...
By the way, the mention of a paper cut gives me a physical reaction. Do you have that?
Kind of.
Almost just like your nerve endings are sort of agitated by just the mention of a paper cut.
Well, buckle up, and maybe I should give a legit it's a mini trigger, like a squirt gun trigger warning here. If you don't like to hear about
a gun that shoots a flag that says bang.
That's right.
Level of trigger warning.
This is an Enertech trigger warning, so it looks like a real gun, so it's scary, but we'll all get through it together because it's only water inside. But I was just kind of running around doing various things yesterday, and just like I'm trying to think of what it was, like a little notebook or something that I had to put in this bag that we have in our hall closet that collects Goodwill stuff. And so I had this little notepad. I was putting it in there. And it was just a split second. And I reached down to like kind of, I don't know, I think pick something up off of the bag that has the Goodwill stuff in it. And somehow, Luke, there was a splinter on the wall. And my finger and I don't know how this happened. My finger just grazed as I'm pushing down, and a splinter went right up under my fingernail.
Oh, no.
And it broke off, so there's no part sticking out of it.
That's how they tortured John McCain.
My friend, I told Genevieve as I was practically crying in the kitchen, I would give up all state secrets. I would give up all state secrets immediately. All you have to do is describe this story to me.
Yes.
So in the moment, I'm like, oh, that hurts really bad. That hurts really bad. I put a Band-Aid on. I'm like, okay, it subsided a little bit. Genevieve's like, what are you going to do about that? I'm like, I'm going to let it grow out. She's like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I'm like, it'll be fine.
What do you mean grow out?
That's a really good question. It doesn't work that way. I just thought maybe with time, I thought the body body doesn't like foreign objects.
So something was broken off and under your fingernail.
It
permanently.
remains broken off under my fingernail right now, which is why I'm in pain. Genevieve's like, it's not going to just grow out. That isn't how it works. I look it up online, and everything says it's not going to grow out. That's not how it works. I asked the
Your
woman.
body will not just eventually like subsume it.
I literally asked the woman who was at the register, because I did think that, Luke. I'm like, well, a body isn't going to let a foreign body in there, right? Like, it's going to just take
honestly,
care of it.
that would have been my theory, is that at some point your body will just digest it. Like, that's
what
going to
I
make
thought.
a off-color reference about like a twin who didn't quite make it.
Wow.
Gets integrated into your...
What were you saying about
I won't make that
Epstein?
reference.
Anyway, but no. So yesterday, I was rushing off to my volunteer gig, so I didn't have time to deal with it. So I wrap it up in a couple of bandages.
Which finger is it?
It's my left hand. I'm right-handed, so this is my left hand forefinger. And I don't know.
Yeah.
See, it's going to be hard
I can
to
see
get it to focus, but you can see it's under
over
there.
it's in the corner, right?
It's in the very
side.
corner, so it's making
I can
it
see the
very
discoloration.
difficult.
I can
That's not
absolutely
even
see
the
it.
discoloration. That is the splinter that you're seeing. That is the splinter. You're seeing it through the nail, and there's no purchase. It's so far under there, Luke. And now here's how it affects the show. So I was like, I'm not going to deal with this in the moment.
That's your wagon finger. You like to wag that at me when I say things that you don't agree with.
It's a real en vogue kind of move that I pull on you.
They call you the Dikembe Mutombo of
yes.
daily podcast.
What am I thinking? Is it salt and pepper? Well, that's not it, I feel is the line that I'm thinking of from some 90s sort of soul song.
Is that on Never Gonna Get It?
Maybe it's never going to get it or something.
No, that's not it.
I don't even
the problem
think
is I know that line,
yeah.
but I only know that line as it's, speaking of subsuming things, it's used in a girl talk mashup.
I could see that completely. Yes.
And so I hear that it's on one of the workout records that I listen to, and so I can hear someone saying, "That's not it," but then it goes into R. Kelly, "I'm a flirt," laid over some other thing. You know what I mean? It's just it's a buoy bay of different sounds. So I can't tell you does that, but I'm picturing what you're picturing.
So all of that is to say, I didn't have time to take care of it in the moment. I also was under the false belief that it would just take care of itself. Nature finds a way, etc. I did some reading online. I asked. There was a woman at the grocery store. She had our grocery store has been rearranged so that there's one lone little checkout stand that is an area that houses sort of all the liquor, and then weirdly other expensive sort of groceries, basically they keep their Tide laundry detergent back there, and it's sort of like a little mini drugstore too. Anyway, I asked her where the tweezers are. I couldn't find them anywhere. She finally tells me, and I finally find them. And then there's nobody else in this area. Usually I'm sheepish to use this area to check out because I feel like it should be 5 items only and somebody's buying booze. I wasn't buying booze. But she's like, "Did you get it? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I got a splinter under my fingernail." I'm like, "Will you take it out for me?" I straight up asked her. She said no, but then she started giving me a lot of advice. I'm like, I thought it would just kind of grow out and take care of itself. And she gave me the same look that Genevieve and the internet gave me, which was like, "You fool. That isn't how this stuff works." So she's like, "No, you gotta." She gave me some advice for cutting it way down. Last night, I took a pin. I bought those new tweezers. And I had a little one of those thin X-Acto blades, one of these guys, just because I thought maybe that could get under there and get some purchase. And
did you get a leather strop to bite down on?
Yeah.
Did you light some candles and then tie yourself down to a table as Genevieve
I
came
had a
in?
bottle of whiskey and I just poured it on my finger, then I poured it in my mouth, and I poured it on my finger,
some
and I
for
poured
you,
it in my mouth.
some for the ship.
And then I bit the strop, and then anyway, but I didn't get it out. All I did was kind of tear my finger apart some more. I couldn't get this thing out. And then I'm like, well, that's about all I got. Nature, do your thing. And then I go to sleep. And then, of course, what happens this morning, it's getting infected, right? It's starting to get that. It's getting swollen and red there. And if I tap anything, it hurts so bad. So now I'm like, I got to get this thing out. I got to get this thing out. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And so when I was getting ready for the show today, I looked down, and upstairs, very neatly on a folded paper towel, not unlike a surgeon's tools, are my little pin with a little yellow ball on the end of it, my X-Acto blade, and my brand new tweezers. And they're just sitting there waiting for my next session, right? My next surgery. And I thought, you know what Luke would do? He would just bring those down into the studio and take care of this on the show. And I had a moment of thinking about that.
Actually, that would have been pretty entertaining.
But then I thought, I don't know, that might be too cringy for people. Me literally trying to dig something out from under my fingernail.
That's
I
a
can
good
see people
point.
having issue with that.
I also almost threw up once having a tattoo.
On the show.
I think I was having Addie's middle name added to this tattoo that I had laser burned off. I think that was the procedure. And I was not expecting, because I've got plenty of tattoos, I was not expecting it to actually sort of hurt as much as it did, to where I felt a little nauseated by the process. So that would have been a bad outcome if you were getting sick on the air trying to dig this thing out. Now, may I just say, Andrew, it's weird that I also subscribe to the theory that your body will just absorb it, because, and I've talked about this on the show, you and I now have this in common, which is I have a thorn that has been in this knuckle. It's very hard to show you on the camera here, but I have a foreign object that has been in this exact knuckle for the last 38 years of my life, because I was trying to get a wiffle ball out of a tree, and I jumped up to try to knock it out, and instead it was a very thorny tree, and one of the thorns jammed into my knuckle and broke off. And I remember being so afraid. Well, first of all, we didn't have health insurance, so I was just raised to think that if you went to the doctor for anything, it was $1 million. There was also just the fact that I was terrified that the solution was going to be to cut open my knuckle and take it out, and so I didn't ever go, and it is still in there. So, of course, I should know this. That thing is going to just remain whoomp. There it remains, unless you're able to take it out. You might consider going to the doctor, because they could give you like a shot of lidocaine, and then make it so it actually doesn't hurt, and then they would just probably make a little slit in your fingernail and pull it right out, and
just remove the nail. Yeah, I've been fantasizing about that too. I think that if I go in to like an urgent care or something, I think they'll laugh at me. I think they'll say this is the problem with having accessible medicine. Like, you shouldn't, like, I think this is something that most adults would just deal with.
Have you considered finding a mouse to take it out of your paw? You will then owe the mouse a big favor. So just go in knowing that someday you will have to save the mouse's life. But there is a long, rich history of mice removing thorns and other things from big lionish kind of guys' paws.
That's an idea. I hadn't considered that. I was thinking biblically about it. You were talking about not having health insurance as a kid, and also I know that
we did have the power of prayer.
You did have the power of prayer.
We
Faith
sort of had,
big.
And we had a pretty decent copay.
Like 2 Hail Marys? No, wait, you guys wouldn't be a Hail Mary family. That's very
no,
Catholic.
God no.
Good Lord.
No, I was
God,
always thinking you were very much going to hell. Yeah, God, literally God no, Andrew.
But I was thinking, like, what if it's the finger that offends thee, cut it off or whatever. I was like, what about that? What if I just chop the tip of my finger off? Then they have to take me into urgent care, and they won't laugh.
No, definitely you'd be elevated.
Yeah.
Immediately to the highest tier of care. Like you come in missing a finger, they're going to put you right to the front of the line. So I think they probably see a lot of stuff just like this, that I would not personally feel embarrassed to go to urgent care with this particular problem, because it is one of those things that, like, they just have better equipment for it. And also, that even, I don't know if I am less squeamish about that stuff than you. I maybe a little bit, but still, I would not want to cut into my own fingernail. Now, here's one other thing.
I want to make it clear. The razor blade that I have was not to, like, cut. I'm not trying to actually cut my fingernail away, if that's what people think, and I realize this is a very uncomfortable conversation. It was just that this thing is so far under there, I can't get the set of tweezers under there. I can get like one tweeze under there, but I can't get 2 of them under there. There's not enough room. So then you're supposed to use a pin to loosen it. So I was trying to use a pin to loosen it, but it just seemed like the pin wasn't getting enough traction. So I was just taking the very, very point of the retractable tiny little razor blade thing that you would, like, cut paper with, right? Or maybe even cut a box open with. I was just using the very, very tip of that to try to, like, grab the very end of the splinter and see if I could just sort of pull it out a little bit. All I need to do is get enough exposed so that I can grab it with the tweezers. I'm imagining that moment of pulling it out, like I'm a soldier pulling an arrow out of me or something like that.
It is going to be, when you do pull it out, it's going to be a moment of triumphant relief like you've never felt before. So I am kind of excited for that part of the story. But how about those tweezers? They do make tweezers that have a very long, thin end to them, and sometimes they're even curved. And I don't even know what they're for.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
But
if
I've seen those like in like a jeweler shop or something. Like there is, because maybe you can find some tweezers that are the end of them is really, really narrow, so you could get under there. Because if you're using standard tweezers, those are not going to be able to go into your fingernail.
Yeah, and this gets to a bigger conversation that I don't think either one of us are prepared to have right now. But like, I need access to a better fully stocked drugstore that has specialty items like that, because like as these things continue to close or just like kind of become just husks of their former selves, and I don't know if you saw the news this weekend, Luke, like this Rite Aid company that's in bankruptcy for a second time that bought all the Bartell drugs around here is definitely closing. Like the last good Bartell drugs that's in kind of my neck of the woods is down there by Green Lake. That one is now going to close. It was like one of the last ones that you could walk into, and it wasn't just like nothing but stacks of like 24 packs of water on every shelf. Have you been in any of those drugstores yet?
Yeah, I went in one when I was in New York City recently, and it was bleak.
Right?
I was, first of all, there is absolutely no human working the registers anymore. It's full. It's not like you have the normal register, and if you want to go to self-checkout, you can. There was just only self-checkout and no one anywhere monitoring it. So, of course, there was some problem with my gum I was buying, and, like, I couldn't get the thing to work. I couldn't find an employee in the store. I was like, do I steal the gum? I ended up going to a different register and just checking out with that one, and then some schmuck went to my register, and I was like, I think that one's, like, broken or something. Anyway, yeah, these drugstores are just so bleak now. We should stop calling them drugstores for the first thing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The last one I went into, I was in Edmonds, Luke. Is it Edmonds? See, this is literally the place that I think where we started calling it culturally Edmonds, but technically it's Shoreline. It's that Spin Alley bowling alley that is in that area. It just come up recently on the show. I was there on a Saturday afternoon getting my friends a gift card to Spin Alley. I thought it'd be a good gift. I was going to a birthday party later that day, and I wanted a card to put this gift card in. And so I asked the woman at the bowling alley, like, where to get a card around here. I'm like, I'm from Seattle, not culturally Edmonds. Where do you go to? Anyway, she says, this drugstore, I can't remember which one it is, but it's one that everybody's heard of, let's just say a Rite Aid or something, is down the street. And she's like, they actually have a decent card selection. And then she says, that's all they have anymore is cards there. And I go in, and it's true, they have a decent card selection. They have like a couple of coolers with some beers and sodas or something, but the space is huge. And then when you go down the aisles, it's just like empty shelves or literally just stacks and stacks of like plastic water bottles, like a 24
You know
pack
who this
or
makes
whatever.
me sad for? The mothers of marauding gangs of shoplifting teens. Because what the market is telling us is that they're not stealing the cards.
Oh, yeah, good call,
The whole argument is that, you can't have stuff at these stores because these marauding gangs of teens are going to come in and just take it all out, that whole narrative, which I think is very overstated. But anyway,
that's not
what they're not stealing, apparently, is world's best mom cards to give them on Mother's Day. Those are still right out in the open at the CVS.
So here's what I buy. I think, what I did was I got a card, I got a bag of jelly beans for the car ride home, and I got, not jelly beans, I'm sorry, gummy bears. God, sorry, Andrew, don't lie. They were gummy bears. Albanese brand, I believe. And I think I got like a 12-pack of beer for the party that we were going to take. So I get those three things, and I go up to the front where they don't have any self-checkout. They just have like a few, like cash machines, or not cash machines, a few registers there at the front. Yeah. And I walk up, and there's nobody there. And I know I saw somebody checking out earlier. Somebody was working it, but I wasn't really paying attention. Now I'm there 5-10 minutes later, and nobody is there. And then a person gets in line behind me. And I am already in this mode of kind of like, and it's easy for me to say because I'm not really in a hurry in this moment, but I'm like, I am not going to kind of put on like a cranky face here. Like whatever's going on, the reason that this cash register is unmanned right now is not the fault of the person who should be manning it, because I guarantee you this person has too much on their plate, if anybody even works here. A third person gets in line with her daughter. Now we're all waiting. Now it's like 4 minutes in, 5 minutes in. Like, I'm starting to think, do I even buy any of this stuff? Like, we literally don't know where this person is, and it's a big store. Everybody in the line is looking around. I pull out my phone and I call the store. I'm like, maybe somebody, the phone will ring and somebody will come to this front desk area to answer the phone, and I'll say, that's just me, didn't know how to get your attention. But it just goes to voicemail or some sort of like phone tree thing. It probably goes to some national chain number. And so that didn't really work. And then I think the mom and daughter are getting ready to leave, but then they start like kind of going on a Easter egg hunt for an employee around the store, and they find this poor woman who looks like she shouldn't even be on her feet anymore. She clearly has health issues. She was over in some other part of this like store stocking something. She's got this cart on wheels that she's practically using as almost like a walker. Like, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I see this woman and she's like moving so slowly.
And that's when you regretted not giving her cranky Yandy face,
and
right?
that's when I got cranky. That's when I turned
That's when
up.
you were like, this bee.
This is when I turned up the Yandy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm working on that. Just scratch that right back down to the bottom of the litter box.
Do we still own crankyyandy.com? Did we ever?
I did just let disposable media expire, by the way.
Oh.
I figure
Turns
we're
out it
not
was
doing
disposable.
Yeah, we're not doing anything with that. Anyway, I was really glad. I could tell that like some of the people in line were maybe going to be, I just got the impression they were going to be slightly less gracious with this woman. But I'm just like, good Lord, this woman is like just trying to do her job. I'm sure making way too little money for what she's doing. I'm sure back in the heyday, this would have been probably 5 people working here, a couple of people stocking stuff, and, you know, maybe a couple
nice
of people.
pharmacist in like a white jacket, maybe named Wally.
Yeah, right.
That was the name of the pharmacist at Craigan's when I was a kid. It was like the pharmacy, the American pharmacy, and, you know, writ large was just such a wonderful place when we were kids. Like, I would go, and granted, it wasn't part of a chain, but, you know, famously on this show, just right across the street from our little rental house was this place, Craigan's Pharmacy, and they had everything. They had like kids' toys and squirt guns, and in the back there was probably 4 full-time pharmacists that were just filling prescriptions, and like, you know, it was just my favorite place to hang out. And
they had video game
to go
consoles,
from that,
or they had video game
consoles. We snuck it back in. We did a reverse because Peter got religion.
I love that.
We shoplifted some kind of I want to say it was a Nintendo, and then we had it at his house, and then he got cold feet, and then the challenge was we had to reintegrate it into Craigan's Pharmacy.
I love that.
Without them catching us putting it back. But anyway,
Ocean's 11 because you were 11 years old.
That's right. To go from that though, or like a Bartell Drugs back in the day, to what we're looking at now, and this poor person who's probably, I don't know, I'm really kind of riffing here, but I'm guessing maybe worked there for a long time and it's probably seen this through its iterations, and so anyway, I'm very glad that you were treating this person with respect and not being kind of huffy with them.
Yeah, no, I wasn't huffy, but anyway, all that is to say, like, you're talking about remember what we were talking about? You were talking about getting like these specialty tweezers. I literally don't know where to go to get them anymore. You know what I mean? Like, where can I go to? Like, I was in this tiny pharmacy area of a grocery store in Roosevelt, and they had like one option for tweezers.
Medical supply store.
Interesting.
You need to go to the same place where they'll sell you like a sort of one of those like a toilet kind of assistant thing. That's it's like a kind of a walker, but it's got a toilet seat built into it that you can use if there's mobility issues and things like that. Like, and I don't want to. How do I say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm having fun at the expense of people who are going through medical stuff? There is not a more depressing store to go to than the medical supply store because it's just all the stuff that you need when things are kind of not really going super great. But they would definitely have all of the gauze you'll ever need, any kind of bracing that you might need, and probably a lot of tweezers would be my guess.
And today's plan, by the way, because I think it's going to be another nice day, and because I had fun this weekend, I have this yard project I've been mentioning I just want to get started on. Today's a really good day to do that, but I don't know if I can do that with this thing getting... So here's my plan. After the show, so this is... I don't know if you noticed this. I'm a little bit slimy. I'm a little bit grimy right now because this is a rare show where I have not taken a shower. This is a very rare pre-shower TBTL recording for me because what I'm going to do is take a very long shower after this because everybody from the young woman at the grocery store to Genevieve to the internet have said you need to really soak your hand, really get everything nice and soft and warm in there. So I'm going to take a extremely long shower. I'm going to try to like kind of build myself up. I'm like, you can do this. I'm going to like Jack Donaghy myself in the mirror. Sounds dirtier than it is. And then I'm going to go, I think I'm going to do it upstairs. Should I do it? I tried doing it over the kitchen sink before. Should I bring the tools down to the bathroom? Is that the proper place to do this maybe?
Probably, because if you hit an artery and you've got a gusher, you already, you probably want to be. By the way, I almost sent you this tape. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm trying to play it directly off of TikTok. But this is what you need to channel is the power of this little kid. This is probably like a 2.5-year-old kid who's getting his, I think he's either getting a shot or he's getting blood drawn for some reason. And he is hyping himself up as they're inserting the needle. And he's also crying, just like giant tears are falling out of his face while he's also trying to hype himself up. I feel like this is your spirit animal next time you have to go and give blood, or even today when you're digging around under your fingernail. Let's see if this works.
You just gotta stay very still for me, okay?
Oh yeah, ow,
Okay.
what the heck, though?
It's okay, it's okay.
They're putting the like the alcohol swab, kind of cleaning the area. Starting to cry.
Ready?
Oh,
Grab his hand.
heck yeah! Heck yeah!
All right.
Do it.
Touch it. Here, let me hold my hand.
Just
Don't touch
do
bud.
it.
Just do it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Yeah!
It's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, boy!
So that's your.
I will
that's
think
your new
about
spirit
that
animal.
forever because I'll
send
don't
you the
like
link.
getting
This
shots.
kid is. I love this kid so much.
Oh my god! Now you can hear just like almost like a mynah bird. You can hear him kind of parodying. Or parodying,
100%.
I should say, but
like I
that's two
feel like
different
he's
birds.
probably watched Stone Cold Steve Austin or
Right.
somebody. He's also what you can't hear in the audio is his other arm that's not the blood draw arm. He's like making a fist.
I
Like,
can hear. I can practically hear it, and he's just like this.
So
he's
cute.
scared. He's crying. You said he's nervous, but
Yes.
he's like, I'm going to channel. Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, man. That's what I. But that's why I need. I keep on having this fantasy of like. I'm not even joking. I've literally had this fantasy last night as I'm like, okay, I couldn't get the splinter out. I had this weird fantasy of running into somebody and telling them about this and them saying, oh, I can take care of that for you. The weird thing is if Genevieve said I could take care of that for you, I don't know if I'd let her. But like but I also don't know that I can do it myself, And so I keep on thinking like I'm going to run into like a nurse on the street and they're going to be like, oh, I can take care. I have my kit in the car. Just come here. I'll take care of that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have
that'll take
iodine
2
for
minutes.
some reason. Yeah. I don't know why they have iodine, but they're going to have iodine and they're going to take care of it really quickly. Yet I don't want Genevieve to do it. So I don't know. I guess my option is I buy these tweezers you're talking about, I take a long shower, and I work on it myself, or I just wander up and down North Aurora until I meet somebody who claims to be a nurse.
I mean, I can't see how that would go wrong in particularly that section of Aurora. I think you will definitely find some people who would be willing to, give it a shot.
Certainly, yes. And certainly some people, I've seen some people who are dressed like nurses up here on Aurora.
I bet. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Some of the finer establishments along that part of Aurora have people in a variety of outfits.
Exactly. Yes.
Variety of fantastical outfits.
So pray for me.
I will. I'll put you on the prayer chain.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Now ready. Ready. Go. Everybody razzle dazzle.
Hey, let's thank some dazzling donors. These folks are keeping TBTL rolling along like the mighty Mississippi because of their generosity. That's how this works. It's 100% listener-supported podcasting, and it is thanks to folks like Ryan Young out there in Richmond, California. Ryan says, it's Ryan, like Lion Ted Cruz. Ryan says, hey, friendos, I'm only procrastinating a little this year after missing last year's message completely. Despite many friendly reminders from John and my confident assurance that I'd send it by Thursday at the latest. I know that move, Ryan. That's usually the one that precedes, oh, I'm sorry for the delay. My email's been crazy.
Right.
Like my email's been being crazy or being weird. Actually, my email is being crazy now, Andrew. Like, because I'm talking to you on this newer computer that I have now, and for whatever reason, I guess it's probably running a newer operating system than my old computer was. And so it's trying to AI summarize. First of all of the emails that I'm getting from people, it now writes a summary.
I turned that off immediately when I got my new computer.
I need to figure out, I probably need to figure out how to turn it off, because this is what's been happening. I read the summary and I forget that it's doing a summary, and I think, how rude, in the words of whichever Full House cast member that was.
Yeah, we always get that wrong. We always say it's the twins, but it wasn't the twins.
Is it DJ Tanner? Was it
I think
DJ
it might
Tanner?
be DJ.
But so like for instance, I'm out here in the Midwest. We're filming a TV story the next couple of days, and I see the email from our producer, and it just says, "Meet at the truck stop at 9." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, David." I mean, it's a little direct. And then I realize, oh no, that's the summary. That's AI summarizing the content of the email. But that's happened more than once, where I've gotten an email from someone and then I read just the first line in like preview, and I think, boy, have we lost all manners? Are people just saying like just directly like resend this right now or whatever? It's like, oh no, that's AI. The other thing that it does is when I'm writing something in an email draft, it keeps trying to finish the sentences for me.
Oh, shut it down, America. I hate that.
And in fact, so we had Paul F. Tompkins on Livewire last week, and I was writing questions for him. And my process is I write everything in an email draft. I don't know why. This is just what I've always done. It's just my little system. And because it's an email, technically, this thing kept trying to help me write my questions for Paul F. Tompkins. And so as an experiment, I decided to just let it. And it asked me, not only did it asked me, is this going to be a live interview?
Oh.
Like, is this an interview in front of people? And I said, yes. And then it wrote these questions, and it was like, I forget the exact description. I actually read this on Livewire. It was like, here are some questions that will help engage the audience, and da-da-da-da-da. I was like, oh man, this thing is coming for my job.
But
really,
how
really
were
bad.
they, though?
They were honestly, some of them were really bad, and some of them were actually real questions that I have asked him before, which really hurts. Like about him being very dapper.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that's clearly well known on the internet about him. So I felt embarrassed about that. That like it basically, I had it write 5 questions, and I think 2 of them really sucked. One of them was not terrible, which was, it's kind of a standard question, which is like, if you could go back to your younger self and tell them one thing about comedy, what would you tell them? But this was the part that I thought was good. It said, like, if you could go back and talk to a young Paul F. Tompkins and give him some advice about comedy, what would you tell him? And would he listen?
Oh, that is an interesting.
That's not a bad end to that question, right?
Yeah.
That's a more interesting question about like kind of what sort of person were you when you were younger?
Yeah.
So that hurt that the AI came up with a better question than I would have.
Yeah.
There. And I asked him that question, and he gave a really thoughtful answer.
Mm-hmm. What was it?
So anyway, back to Lion Ryan Young in Richmond. Wait a minute, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Back to Ryan Young in Richmond, California. Says, I was cannily buying myself some time to set up my personal website and newsletter so I'd have something to promote. Well, a year of Thursdays later, and I wrote exactly 1 post based on a talk I gave at Write the Docs conference in 23. Shout out to Lynn Pham for seeing the video from Revolution Hall. That's very cool. I wonder what Write the Docs conference is.
I could look it up.
I'll check it out. Now, this is about my 4th version of this message. Thanks, John, for your support and patience. And I've narrowed it down to just a simple list of production ideas. My 7-year-old son is slowly becoming a 10. So the list also includes topics he'd want to hear more about. Bonus points if you can guess which are mine and which are his. Okay, basketball. I want to hear Andrew figuring out basketball. WNBA season is starting soon, and the NBA playoffs are coming up. Now,
okay. Now
here's the thing, Andrew.
The championship is happening now, right?
Yes.
The NBA
it is
championship.
The Oklahoma City Thunder
versus
going up
the
against
Pacers.
The
I know that.
Indiana Pacers.
Look
yes.
at that. Look at that. So I'm
there
figuring
you go.
it out.
Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers they just keep finding ways to win games. Although actually I'm not up to speed on I know they won the first game, which was a shock to everyone.
And then they supposedly played yesterday, right? That was game 2, but I don't know what the score was yesterday. But basically everybody in our area is rooting very hard for Indiana because they don't like the Thunder because the Thunder is a stolen team. It used to be the Sonics here. So that's everything I know about that.
On the subject of which, there's a lot of substantive talk that we may get the Sonics back, or a team that we will likely call the Seattle Supersonics. Might that be a time for you, Andrew, to engage with the world of NBA basketball? New team, new Andrew.
I mean, maybe, and I'm not just saying this to be inclusive, but the WNBA also has appealed to me. I'm just not drawn to it. Like, people are like, why don't you get into this other sport? And it's kind of like, I don't know, every other sport that I got into, I guess just two, baseball and football, happened really organically. It wasn't like I have too much extra time and I feel too good all the time. What sport can I get into that can crush me?
That's a good point.
And so like it just sort of happened. And I'm sure that like if I start hanging out with people and there are NBA or WNBA games on as part of our hanging out a lot, then it will just end up happening. But it's not like I'm going around looking for another sport.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also the NBA, it's sort of it's more consuming. Well, there are more games than in football, but fewer games than in baseball, but still kind of a lot of games.
Now, let me ask you this. Where are we in the They kind of like, they stack and I think this is smart if they do it the way I think they do, like the NBA and WNBA playoffs and championships do not happen at the same time, right? They kind of stagger it. Like, I think the WNBA season is happening right now in basketball season, but like they're more like kind of, are they more mid-season right now or getting near the end?
I think they're kind of at the beginning of their season.
Oh,
I think the idea is that, like you said, it's staggered so that you have the kind of beginning of the WNBA happening while the end of the NBA is winding down. And of course, once again, it seems to just be, and maybe I'm just buying into the most obvious narrative, but this whole sort of Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese kind of situation going on. You've got your Caitlin Clark heads and you've got your Angel Reese heads. It's real Magic versus Bird kind of vibrations.
I know Angel Reese. I'm not usually a huge fan of the players who sort of pull the like, I don't know, everybody's out to get me and the media's out to get me. I don't usually side with anybody who sort of takes a stand against the media, and I sort of feel like that's Angel Reese's sort of deal from the very, very, very little I know about her. But I also know that she's a cool customer, and what I really know, and I will always associate her with this, is she is the one who taught me that non-carbonated orange drink is back at McDonald's because of the Angel Reese
Yes, I remember that
meal.
episode.
Yes, exactly.
Like it was
episode
yesterday.
of my life. Yes.
We broke down that menu item.
Yes.
We got into the granular level. Okay, here's another thing that Ryan would like us to talk about. Bob Dylan. More Dylan talk. Listen to everything. Now, I think that might have been the kid. I think that might be
I'm sure. I'm
the 7-year-old,
positive,
I think, might be the one who wants more Dylan talk. It's funny. We were having Dylan talk this weekend because we're hanging out with Becca and Becca's brother and his wife, and they had just seen Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is touring right now, if you can believe that. And they said it was absolutely awful because Bob Dylan was behind his band. He was dressed in all black, so he blurred into the background. He was standing behind his band, and he refused to play any of his sort of quote-unquote hit songs. And listen, I like Bob Dylan a lot, but he does seem to sort of be actively trolling people that have paid money to come see him, and they said it stood in contrast to Willie Nelson, who played right after him and was phenomenal.
That's an interesting pairing, isn't it? Them going around together.
Yeah, I think it's Billy Strings, who's this kind of bluegrass phenom, playing with Willie Nelson, and then I think one of Willie Nelson's sons is a musician. But if you're Bob Dylan and you're going to go out on the road and you're going to kind of, I don't know, just sort of Bob Dylan it up, which is to say not really think about the audience experience a lot, don't do it when you got a 95-year-old guy coming right after you who's going to play crazy.
Yeah.
And absolutely just deliver on, what everyone's hoping he will deliver on. Like you don't want to have Willie Nelson coming after you if you're Bob Dylan, apparently.
Yeah, and I think that some listeners might not agree with all of this, but I've said on the show before that I believe certain types of music and the musicians that perform them grow older more gracefully than others. And somebody took issue with this, but I'll use this as an example again because I stand by it from my own personal taste. I love the B-52s, but seeing the B-52s still doing the same basic kind of act or energy that they were doing back in the late 70s in 2025 doesn't hit the same for me. It doesn't seem like the type of act that grows old gracefully, whereas more of a singer-songwriter-y kind of thing. Dylan already had so many different phases of his career and his sound famously, as do all kinds of people. I think of Jeff Tweedy, other tons of musicians. Anything that maybe slightly slides more towards even like blues or something like that. But like, and Dylan could have, like, Dylan, even at his age, could still be touring and putting on a hell of a show. It doesn't have to be the highest energy show. It doesn't even have to necessarily be with a band. It could be a very intimate kind of show or whatever. Like, his music lends itself to that. It's a real bummer to hear that he's kind of just pissing on his audience. Oh, sorry for the 7-year-old there, by the way. Oops.
The 7-year-old also wants more pee talk. So this is actually a twofer. I saw, Tom Sharpling, the Best Show guy. I saw him talking to our buddy from Saturday Night Live who does their Trump impression, William Austin.
Oh,
Johnson
James Austin Johnson, I think, right?
White guy name.
Am I right? Though, is it James Austin Johnson?
It's probably James Austin Johnson. Yeah,
I'll look
it's
it
that,
up, but I think it's close to that.
But that guy is kind of, I think, sort of fascinated with Dylan. And this is what Tom Sharpling was saying, which had not even occurred to me. But he was like, if you think about Dylan and the way that Dylan was singing, and then when he came out with like Nashville Skyline and how he just totally changed his entire singing style. I think it was Tom Sharpling was saying, do you know how insane it would be if Taylor Swift just came out and she was just like, she just sang like this now? Like, I don't think that was his specific example, but this idea of just like, we had a major musical star in America just go, like now I just sing like this. Tonight I'll be staying here with you. Like and that's a terrible Dylan impression, but basically like he just completely changed how he sounded and everyone went along with it. And that, like, it just, well, that's Dylan for you. But if a major American singer suddenly just didn't sound anything like they used to sound nowadays, it'd be like, well, that's weird.
I think of Tom Waits as well, kind of doing something similar. His early records sound so much different. But I do have a question for you after the example you just gave. Does Taylor Swift like French fried potatoes? Because I got some of that energy off of your latter-day Taylor Swift impression.
It's a little dash of Billy Bob, a little Bill Clinton as well. It's all in there. Okay, this is a long list. I don't think we're going to get to all of these,
right.
but we got Minecraft in there. That one's definitely coming from Ryan.
Yeah, definitely.
Gravity Falls. Get to know Bill Cipher. Adopt the catchphrase "Reality is an illusion." Gravity Falls. It's a TV show, maybe.
I don't know. I'm looking this up now. Gravity Falls. Get to know Bill Cipher. I'm going to look up Bill Cipher. What is this catchphrase that we're supposed to memorize?
Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye. That's apparently a quote from somebody associated with Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls seems to be an animated show. I did not. Did you know that?
No.
It's a two-dimensional. Oh, I'm sorry. Bill Cipher is a two-dimensional, interdimensional dream demon from the now-destroyed dimension Euclidia.
That guy could fix your finger, Andrew.
I think
that's what you need is a two-dimensional, interdimensional demon to go after that thing.
I need a cipher.
Yes. Also playing guitar. Tell us where you are with those songs, Luke. I'm about where you left me. I'm about CAD. I got some Wilco that I can play. I get that capo going because it lowers. Yeah, exactly. It lowers the action on the guitar. I'm playing my little Taylor travel guitar sometimes. I actually have been. I like to sit in my little window bench and stare out the window and play my guitar. Hypotheticals. What if a person ran right off a cliff? These are things that I'm thinking maybe this is coming from the 7-year-old. Like, what really happens when you run off a cliff? You know,
you just keep spinning your legs until you
the
realize.
Wile E. Coyote paradox, I believe, is what they talk about in philosophy programs. And then Roblox.
I know nothing about Roblox other than it's a video game that I believe contains a bunch of mini games inside of it, and for some reason it didn't. It didn't draw me in because I think I like more immersive stuff.
My sense is it is an extremely effective way to separate parents from their money by way of their children in Roblox, because most of my conversations with people under the age of 10 is how they're doing Roblox and how much Roblox money they have. This has come up 2 times in my television filming in the last couple of years. One was I was talking to that little kid who opens toys, like unboxes toys and plays with them on YouTube, and the family makes
like a millionaire.
Oh, many times over. And his parents live in this unbelievable home in Hawaii that's all from just like playing with toys. His name is Ryan. It's like Ryan's World. And I found it quite charming because the thing he was really excited about was that he had like $100 in his Roblox account. And I was like, kid, you don't know the half of it. Like, you're rich.
Yeah.
And
his
then
offshore Roblox account.
Exactly. Like, but I did find it sort of charming that they had somehow created a world in which he was still excited that he was going to be able to buy these things in this game with money that he had like saved up from like Christmas presents and things. And I was like, buddy, you have no idea how many Robux, you're sitting on.
Yeah.
But the other thing was I was at this trucking school in Maryland, like, I don't know, last week, the week before, and I was taking a ride with a woman who had gotten her commercial driver's certification, and she's one of these Metallica scholars. Like the band Metallica had paid for her classes, which are like $5,000. And she was saying how this was really life-changing for her because now she was making a good living. She was driving one of these trucks for Coca-Cola. And she said, I can now, my daughter wants these Roblox. Like I can buy her like things in Roblox that I couldn't buy her before, which I thought, wow. So that's my take on Roblox is it seems like the kids love it. It also seems like there's a lot of in-app purchase that comes around for the parents.
Yep, sounds
And
like
then
it.
Grateful Dead. Who's your favorite keyboard player? Well, that would have to be the keyboard player for the Grateful Dead.
Well, I'm confused here. So it's like Grateful Dead is the topic, and the subtopic is who's your favorite keyboard player. Does this mean, like, are these two different questions, or did the Grateful Dead have multiple keyboard players?
Oh, I see. Like, yeah, boy, that's I'd rather run off a cliff than try to answer this question because I don't know.
I have no idea
anything. You know who my favorite keyboard player is?
Bill Evans.
The guy who played. It just comes back to Dylan, Andrew. The guy who played the organ, was his name like Al Cooper? Not Alice Cooper. I think so I remember years and years ago hearing an interview with this guy who had played the organ on Like a Rolling Stone. And he didn't know how to play the organ, but he just wanted to be on the recording. He was like hanging out in the studio when Dylan was recording Like a Rolling Stone. And he just wanted to do something, and so he knew like I guess a couple keys on the organ. And so he goes in, the story goes, and he's just sort of improvising this thing because the real producer has stepped away to probably go have a smoke or something. And the producer comes back in and sees this guy, Al Cooper, standing at the organ. And he's like, "You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing?" And Dylan's like, leave him. And so he basically like just wormed his way onto the Like a Rolling Stone track, and it's a big part of the song, that organ playing.
It is.
So that's my favorite.
I didn't know that story, but I was sort of Googling it while you were talking. You got that exactly
Was any
right.
part of that true, what I was saying?
Al Cooper is spelled with a K. You're absolutely right. I'm watching a YouTube video now called "The Story of How Like a Rolling Stone" by Bob Dylan was recorded. Al Cooper, and
okay.
I'm seeing I was led there from a tweet that says Al Cooper on how he came to play the organ. So clearly there is a story there, and I'm just taking your word that is. But I mean, clearly people are honing in on the fact that this was not supposed to be. People aren't writing pieces like this, like how what's his name, Manzarek decided to play
Ray
the organ.
Manzarek
Ray
got onto a Doors track.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, he was on all the
how
Doors
Robbie
tracks.
Krieger played the guitar.
Exactly. There you go.
On a Doors track.
It's
So,
weird that
there
you were able to grab Ray faster than I was. As the resident Doors scholar, I'm a little bit bashful, a little sheepish right now.
For a Doors scholar.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much, Ryan, for your support. We really do appreciate you. Maestro?
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Now ready. Ready. Go. Everybody rattle, dazzle.
It's our friend Eric S. on Bainbridge Island, Washington.
This
Eric
is the
says,
first.
"Friend
I'm sorry, I was just going to say this is the first sort of anonymized dazzling donor we've
Yeah.
had. We do believe it was intentional. So, Eric
S.
If it's a typo, we apologize. But I'm pretty sure you just want to go as Eric S. Very mysterious.
Yes, very cool. Bainbridge Island, a very cool place as well. I love it over there. Okay, so that last year in my dazzling donor message, I took a couple of, totally legitimate shots at my fellow 10 and long-term TBTL supporter, Sarah from Bainbridge, for not mentioning me in her dazzling donor message. But stop the show. Wait, I've actually got this sound effect here, I think.
Stop the show.
But stop the show. This year, she has come through clutch and reminded me that I have not, in fact, written a dazzling donor message. So we're even, and everyone can relax on the Sarah shade. Andrew, this comes as good news because there were so many people that were not relaxing on throwing shade at Sarah and Bainbridge, and now they know thanks to Eric, that they can relax on that.
It was getting a little bit, the pressure was definitely ratcheting up. It started to feel a little bit, and I don't want to exaggerate here, but it started to feel a little bit like the last days sort of Biggie and Tupac and that West Coast, East Coast thing. It was feeling a lot like that. So I guess what happened here is, Eric expected Sarah to shout him out in her Dazzling Donor message last year, and then maybe called her out for that behavior on the show, but now they're friends again because she's the one who reminded him to send this in. Do I have that right as you understand it?
That's what I'm taking away from this message.
Great.
But again, largely to the TBTL audience, everybody stand down.
Stand down.
Stand down. Everybody who was shading Sarah, you don't do it anymore. Okay, Eric
Sarah.
has instructed you. So, shout out to every singleton 11 and 5 that keeps this audio fever dream alive and helps me stay up to date on local Liberty Bell replica crime statuses and whether or not Norm Charlatan is Norm Charlton.
Literally top 3 most embarrassing moments for me on the show. If not, no.
Where
the
would
only
you
thing
put thinking that a baseball had shattered a car window, safe light repair, safe light replace.
That's top 3 most embarrassing things that happened to me at a Fish Sticks game. I chose to tell you that on the show. I would say I can only think of 2 truly, all of the micro embarrassments I have just daily, obviously, putting those aside, the 2 most absolutely embarrassing moments on the show was when I learned and had the realization live that the Twitter person Norm Charlatan is a parody account or sort of a parody name based on Norm Charlton. That was really embarrassing, but it's got to be number 2 to me being drunk on the show during the Super Bowl. Remember, it's the only time I've ever, is that the only time I've ever been like drunk and talking into a microphone? I don't do that usually. And so for the Super Bowl, I was in LA, you were in Seattle.
But I was also very drunk. So I don't think of that one as being, we were in it together, my friend.
We weren't in it together because I bailed on you and made you, sorry, I'm not crying. I just had a coughing fit. But remember, I bailed on you. I was so drunk that I was like, you got to do the last segment yourself.
We'll see. Now that puts the embarrassment on me because God knows, I remember where I was recording it. I think I was at that loft space where we were watching the Super Bowl in Seattle. And I think I can't even imagine what I was mumbling into that microphone. That was after we won, right? That was the one, that was the good one.
That was the one that we won,
one.
yeah. But I was relatively new in Seattle. I had moved down to Seattle like mid-season, so I could have only been in
you were in LA,
Seattle.
right?
I'm sorry, I moved down to LA rather from Seattle.
Yeah.
And so
I remember
you and I were on the phone recording ourselves separately. Like, let's just keep checking in during the Super Bowl, and then that'll be Monday's show. But, I was at this bar with a bunch of people. I got there super early, so I got
you were saving a table, so you had
whole
to
table in the Seahawks bar in L.A. for the Super Bowl. A lot of pressure.
God
and
gives
I started
his toughest
drinking
fights to his strongest livers.
Oh, my God. And I remember, drinking too much brown alcohol and getting really, really drunk. And also, my phone is blowing up because Philip Seymour Hoffman died that day or that weekend.
Oh, so you had, and that was one of those things where it was we need to get his corpse on tomorrow.
Exactly.
We need to settle for nothing less.
Yeah, we only can talk to his spiritual advisor or his next of kin. Any other guest is not good enough.
Possibly his widow.
Right. And so my
don't
phone
let her
is
mourn. We need to
blowing
get her
up.
on tomorrow.
And I'm like, can I enjoy the Super Bowl? Can I pretend I'm back in Seattle for one damn Sunday? And I was just so drunk that by the time we went to check in the last time, I think I texted you and said, dude, I can't go on the mic again. I'm too drunk for this. And I had never gone back and listened to that. That was, what year? 2014? Is that 2014? It must have been, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it was 2014. And so over 10 years ago, and I think when I was transferring files to the new system a few years aago, I might have...
You considered deleting that
I think I needle dropped it. I'm like, I can handle this now. I'm like that kid. I'm like, yeah. What did the kid say when he was...
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I was like, heck yeah,
that's
I
what
can
I'm
do it.
talking
It's probably
about.
not that bad. It's been 10 years. You're a different person. I needle drop it. I hear
As you're crying.
Blah, 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 and I'm just like, oh, God, send it back to hell. I can't do
I
this.
doubt
can't.
it.
It's
I
so
doubt
bad.
it sounds as bad as you thought.
So
If you
bad.
want, by the way, I think we should each be allowed, I don't know how the listeners feel about this, we should each be allowed to delete one episode of TBTL from planet Earth. You and I.
What if, though, what if
and
I didn't use it to erase one that I'm embarrassed about? I just spitefully delete one that you were really good on.
You just delete the boat show.
Yeah, like your best.
Whatever supposedly like a high point of
your
our
best
of our
moment. I'm
program.
like, I'm going to delete that one.
You know what? It's honestly, you get to pick. So if that's how you want to use it, I can't stop you. Anyway, thank you, Eric S., for supporting TBTL. We couldn't do this without you.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man. It's not from a female.
All right. You know what? We're gonna start the week strong by migrating the top stories that we were going to do today over to tomorrow's show, and bring you an email or a V-mail here. Which do we have in store?
Here, I'll play a quick voicemail for you here. I don't have this listener's name, but it seems to sort of fit with today's theme about me trying to advocate for myself and be strong in scary medical moments, because last week on the show we talked about the doctor's visit I had, where part of these doctor's visits is I always have to go down to the lab and have blood drawn, which is something I don't really like having done. I think I'm learning that I must have some small veins, because even the best phlebotomists are having some trouble finding my veins. And I just want to mention, I'm not drinking coffee on the day of. I'm drinking a lot of water, and I'm even.
Do we
treating
know
myself
that guy is one of the best phlebotomists, though?
Well, I mean, so basically the backstory, which I already recapped, I won't do the whole thing again, but there's one guy there who I really try to avoid. I don't want him to try to draw my blood, because on the couple occasions that he has attempted to, he simply cannot do it, and he's very grumpy. And so I go in there, and they're like, well, you can ask for a more experienced phlebotomist. Somebody sort of like, one of the people at the front desk sort of like told me that one time, and she's really good. I always hope to get her. She both works the front desk and draws blood. And so she said, you can just ask for the like most experienced. And like somehow I started doing that, and I would go in and I'd be like, it's a little bit hard to draw blood from me, and I get a little bit fainty, so could I have I've been told to ask for the most experienced person. But then it started turning into this conversation after a few visits. They were like, well, which guy was it that you were having issue with? And I'm like whispering, and I'm talking about their colleagues. It's just like very, very, very awkward, and not the way this should work. And that's what this person wanted to weigh in on.
Andrew, I'm getting like severe anxiety listening to the story of your blood draws. Here is the magic phrase. When you go to the desk, you don't need to describe the person that you don't want to have. What you need to say is, I absolutely need to have your most experienced phlebotomist. I can't have anyone else, and I will wait for that person. It sucks to have to be so assertive in these situations, but it is the worst when you have a sucky blood draw. I need to have your most experienced phlebotomist. I'll wait for them. There you go. Hope that helps. Bye.
Thank you. For a second, I thought
What
you were going
if
to
the
say,
grumpy guy is their most experienced
yeah,
phlebotomist?
right. Not their best, but he's been there the longest.
He refuses to quit. He is waiting us out.
That's right.
He is our most senior phlebotomist now. He has the most time put in on this.
What is his end game? I wrote that down, though. I absolutely need to have your most experienced phlebotomist. I absolutely need to have I need to memorize that phrase.
And this is kind of a dumb question, but like, you have to go to this particular LabCorp because it's in the building where your other doctor is, and that's just where the stuff happens. Because they have lots of these LabCorp things around, and there's probably there's multiple facilities associated with your medical care. Could you go to could you go to a different lab where this one guy is not there?
I'm sure if I said I literally cannot, I absolutely, in the words of our listener, I absolutely need to go to a different blood core facility. Maybe they would let me do that, but it's all going to be like I'm sorry, what did I say? What is the name of it called? It's LabCorp. Like, they seem to be, like, they have the market cornered, right? And I also have been doing a little bit of reading, and I also overheard some of these phlebotomists talking. I don't think, and, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this. If we get sued, I'll let John take care of it. You and John can clean this up for me. But I have just heard that they're not a company that necessarily is gets sparkling reviews as far as how they, pay their employees and stuff like that. And I know that I think they just had another contract with their union go through. But in other words, it's one of those, it's like they just seem to have a stranglehold on the industry around here. And so I just don't know that going somewhere else is going to. It seems like within this office, there are some people who are great to work with. And there's one person who I just see him trolling around, and I'm like, please, Lord, not today. Don't have him be the one who's trying to draw my blood.
Also, I think next time you're there, if you see him, is he wearing a name tag? Let's just say his name is Greg.
Mm-hmm.
could you then, if you could figure out his name, because we've discussed that sometimes you have a difficult time describing people and there's maybe 2 male phlebotomists there, but if you could figure out this guy's actual name, then you could just go in and say very quietly to the person at the front desk, hey, it doesn't seem like I've had great results with having my blood drawn by Greg. Could I just have somebody else?
I don't know if he has a name tag on or not. So I'm not sure about that. He is short, though.
Does he have a ponytail? For some reason, I imagine him having a ponytail.
You know what I noticed last time is he has male pattern baldness. So he's kind of his. I think it's more complete than mine. So he's kind of got this horseshoe shaped hair, but it's kind of my color, a little bit lighter, and a little bit long and curly. It's actually kind of an interesting look. And I mean, and I don't mean that. I'm not saying interesting like because I'm trying to be insulting, but I don't want to be insulting. Like it's a little bit clownish, but in a way that I kind of don't mind. I think it's actually kind of interesting. He looks like he'd maybe be
kind of Gallagher-y?
A little bit, but not that long. It's not hanging long. It's just a little bit shaggy, but you can see the natural curls, but it's still in this male pattern baldness sort of. It's not unlike maybe you would see like a comedian. Only the thing is he seems to have absolutely no sense of humor at all.
So we don't think that his side job is as some kind of a comedian, possibly smashing watermelons, even though he has the hair of somebody who might do that. He does not have the personality.
It would be amazing if he did. But again, I do think that Gallagher had long enough hair that gravity could take over, right? I don't think this hair is that long. It's just kind of curly. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
Didn't Gallagher sort of didn't it hang down to his close to his shoulders,
yes.
Or am I wrong?
And also his brother, as
and
we've discussed.
Gallagher too.
I got to tell somebody that story. I know we need to wrap things up today. I got to tell somebody that story the other day. Oh, it was my friend Elena Passarello, who knows everything about that kind of stuff. She's also a voracious consumer of pop culture. I was shocked that she was unfamiliar with the whole Gallagher 2 situation. And it was such a joy to get to share that story with someone who had never heard it before, because it is truly wild. It also seems like it'd be a really rich topic for like a biopic.
Ah, yeah.
Do you think that'd be kind of interesting?
You got tension between brother versus brother.
Yeah, and just kind of like, just the whole look of the whole thing, like the way that Gallagher dressed, the way Gallagher 2 dressed, the way the shows went down. Like it just feels like a kind of an interesting. It'd be a world that I would totally want to inhabit as a viewer. The kind of real story behind Gallagher and his brother fighting over who gets to smash watermelons as Gallagher.
I don't know if this is extra or not, but I kind of consider Gallagher too. I call him just Gallagher, and then I call the first Gallagher the other Gallagher. It's just a way to give a little bit subtle. And nobody really ever hears me have these conversations, but it's my way of sort of honoring Gallagher too. He's the first Gallagher in my book.
Yeah, in China they just call it food.
That's a great joke.
Right.
Is that a Gallagher joke? Because that sounds like a Gallagher joke.
Well, no, I mean, isn't there something about like we call it Chinese food, but over there they would just describe it as food or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's nature telling us that we're pretty much done with this episode. When I'm starting to break out the over there they call it food material.
What is nature saying about this thing?
Nature is going to bat last, and it is saying no more TBTL for this Monday.
Use that bat and bonk us in the head with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us today. We are going to be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio for you. I'll be here in Davenport once again. So look forward to that. In the meantime, have a great Monday, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Watch those fingers. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.